Good afternoon and welcome to the extended time accommodated training for the SAT. So this manual that I'm using today is the 100% extended time, but what I talk about in this training is also going to be the same if you have 50% extended time as well. So we're going to pick up materials in the small gym after 6:45, but before 7:10. This will make sure that we have enough time within the day to get the room started for students and ready. As a proctor, you are responsible for conducting a secure, valid administration. You're accountable for everyone in the testing room and everything that takes place there. You'll account for all materials, conduct the testing, and appropriately document any irregularities and monitor the students to ensure a fair administration. As you can see here, this is the standard time for the exam. With extended time, both 50%, which is now called time and a half, or 100%, which is now called double time, this time changes. You will have an individual timing chart within your testing box that will lay out the length of time for each test section, as well as the breaks that are associated with that testing room. Within your testing box, you are going to get your test books, and you will have two rosters, one that you'll use for attendance and one that will stay in the testing box. You will also have what's called a NAR report in your testing box, and that is a non-administrative report. What this piece of paper does is it has all the students that have accommodations within your testing room. You will see not only a blank report, but also an example of how to fill out the report. And what this report essentially says is, yes, these students received the accommodations that they have been approved for through College Board. Before the test day, you need to read this entire manual. This manual will be copied and put in your mailbox by the end of the day, so you will have this to read through it. To prepare for accommodations, in addition to the NAR report, you need to make sure that every student within your room is approved for the accommodations that are there. For this script, you're going to follow script 3. So script 3 is time and a half for 50% testing. Script 4, double time, is for 100% extended time. So we've made all of your manuals specific to the accommodation that you have, meaning that this manual that you have in your box, you are not going to have to go through scripts 1 or scripts 2. It is going to have the exact script that you need to follow for the accommodations within your testing room. You do not need to worry about computer usage, as that is not associated with this accommodation. So you can ignore anything that talks about computers. We also are not doing the essay, so there's nothing in terms of setting up a Word document to do a typed essay. During the test, you need to post the following information: the test date, the school name, city and state, 6-digit code, which is 143796, and your 3-digit testing room code that's going to be provided and listed on your roster. We do need to assign seats at random. We cannot allow students to select their own seats. This is mainly for test security. You will have a room or copy of the NAR, you have your testing materials report form, which must be completed. You have your test books, your answer sheets, testing and progress signs. There will be blank forms. If you need any forms, irregularity report, cancel for test scores, see John Peters. If you are unsure, see John Peters. Before you admit students to your room, count all of your testing materials, including your test books, and compare the serial numbers with those listed on your testing room materials report form. After the testing has begun, you'll record the distribution of test books in your room by writing the serial numbers on the seating chart. This must be turned in. After testing, when you prepare to return materials to the test coordinator, record the serial numbers of the test books that you're returning in Part A of the form. If you're missing a book, please see John Peters. We are not doing an essay. And so then we get to the administration of the test. Scripts 4 through 6 are for the accommodated testing window. You do not need to worry about that, but you do need to make sure that you choose the right script for your extended time. 50% or time and a half is script 3. Double time or 100% is script 4. When you admit students to the testing room, you need to admit them one at a time, making sure to assign their seats at random. Do not admit a student who is not on your roster. we need to make sure that every student is in the correct testing room. If they are present, please write a P next to their name. If you don't recognize a student, ask for identification. If you're unsure, find a monitor, a DA, or an administrator to help. After you've closed the testing room door, put an A next to any name of an absent student. If a student arrives late, you can admit them as long as you have not already started timing a test, meaning that if you are providing directions or you're providing pre-administration, a student can enter the testing room. If you have started the clock on a testing section, you cannot admit them to the room. Make sure to accurately time and monitor each test section. Students must be given the entire amount of time, and they cannot move on to the next SAT section until time is called. With the extended time, if you move on to the next section before the time is expired, this could be a testing irregularity and void the scores within the system. Make sure you record the start and stop times at the lines in the script and post the times for students. Make sure to announce the remaining time at regular intervals, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, etc. For breaks, some students are provided additional breaks as an accommodation, and that will be on the individual timing sheet that you'll have in your testing box. During breaks, including scheduled breaks and breaks associated with accommodations, we should post the break time and include when testing will resume. Walk around the room to confirm that all of the books are closed and that answer sheets are placed inside them. Students are not allowed to access phones. They may eat or drink in designated areas, which is outside of the entry door. They must be supervised one at a time and do not allow students to access their bags or backpacks until the test is over. And the same goes through restrooms, one at a time, and making sure that someone supervises them or that there's hall supervision. You'll need to complete the count of materials to make sure that it's appropriately accounted for, and that's again associated with the testing materials form. So calculator policies. Some students may have the accommodation of a 4-function calculator on the non-calculator section of the math test. If they have that accommodation, there will be an extra 4-function calculator in the testing box associated with that student. We will not have extra calculators to give students. If you have extra 4-function calculators, you cannot give those to students who do not have the calculator accommodation. During scheduled breaks, students must remain in the room. So we have a 10-minute break after section 1, a 5-minute after section 3, and a 2-minute after section 4. You'll see on the timing code within your testing box that there may be additional breaks that are aligned with that accommodation or with that script. Unscheduled breaks means that the clock does not stop. It's one student at a time to take the unscheduled break. This could be in the middle of a testing section. A student needs to use the washroom. That's when this would apply. On page 26, you see the breakdown of the different breaks. Extra breaks, extended, or breaks as needed. Breaks as needed is essentially stop the clock. Extended break means that the time is doubled. Extra breaks is a specific time in between the testing block. If a student has extra or extended, those times are specifically laid out within your testing time code in your testing box. Throughout the test, make sure to follow scripts exactly, remain vigilant at all times. Make sure one staff member is in the testing room at all times and ensure that students do not use calculators, phones, or prohibited aids during testing breaks. We need to monitor test materials at all times. This means that we're walking around the room to check that everyone is working on the correct section. If a student is working on the wrong section, that could be an irregularity report, and you should contact John or Dave to go through that. Copying and prohibited communication is the most common ways for students to obtain an unfair advantage. This can be prevented by effectively monitoring the room, but we do need to be aware of it. Any irregularity forms, if you feel at any time that something's off, something's not working, please contact Dave or John, and we'll process through an irregularity report with you if we feel one is warranted. Before you test, you're going to tell all the students to turn off their devices, and there's going to be a warning script that has been read. Once a prohibited device is seen in the student's possession after the script, regardless of whether it's making noise, the test coordinator should collect the device and contact an administrator. Do not inspect the device. Please call an administrator for help. Other prohibited aids include Bluetooth devices, such as wireless earbuds, headphones, highlighters, scratch paper, and we are following option 1 with device collection procedures. You'll be given individual baggies for students to put their phones in during testing. At the door, you'll confirm that the phone is off, ask them to label the devices with their names, and they'll put it in the plastic bag. If your student has a medical device, think of a student who needs to check their blood sugar or other sort of body monitoring system. You will be notified by Dave Norman if this applies to a student within your room. So as I said, in these manuals, you will have your specific script for your accommodation. You will need to check items on students' desks. And as you can see, just like we did in the fall, we have crossed out sections that you do not need to say. Answer sheets are pre-labeled, so it should be very easy to distribute those. The state ID is on the label, the school ID is not. So make sure that you follow the script exactly. So as you can see, this example is double time. And once you get past the initial script, it goes right to this script. So you'll follow this script to a T, and it has breaks. So as you can see here, time of the break, talks about posted break time of 5 minutes. It really lays it out for you very clearly, as well as your timing code within your testing box. At the end of the test, you'll collect answer sheets. And before you dismiss them, very important, we need to make sure that we account for all the testing books, verify that we have the right count of testing books, the right count of answer sheets, and make sure that before we leave, we complete the testing room materials report form and seating chart. Make sure that your room roster or NAR identifies who is present or absent, and return all materials to the small gym to the table where you picked them up. Thank you so much for your help with testing. John and I really, really appreciate it. We know that this is a very long day for you, and we very much appreciate you guys taking the time. On the back, you'll see the distribution of testing materials, and it gives you examples of how to fill it out. If you have any questions, please reach out to Dave or John, and thank you again.